Hello, my name is SB Murdock. I am an indie author for the Stormborn Guardian. This is my first ever published book, and I'm very excited to share that with you. If you have, it's on Amazon, and if you have Kindle Ultimate, you can read it for free. And then, speaking of which, I am starting a promotion starting on November 26th through the 30th. It's going to be for free. I do believe it's just for Kindle only. But I'm decided to upload a video because I'm in the middle of experiencing how self-promoting works. Lately, I've just been doing YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the media outlets I can think of. But yeah, this is really of a challenge for me. Because I don't like being on camera. I hate getting my pictures taken. So, forgive me for the unprofessionalism in this video. But I thought this should help people know who I am and what the story is about and how I got started. Well, for starters, I started becoming a stay-at-home mom of March of 2023. Shortly after, I was looking for a hobby to do, which turned out to be writing. Yeah, that was a lot bigger project than what I thought it was going to be. It was definitely a learning curve. I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials on what to do and what not to do, pretty much good advice. And for a while there, it stayed a secret hobby. Nobody knew that I was doing this until July of this year, when pretty much I felt comfortable with what I had accomplished. So I decided to upload it to Royal Road, because you can like as much as you want on your book, but generally I want to hear what people's opinions are, especially as a first-time writer. So I did. I was uploading chapters twice a week. Sometimes I jumped the gun and uploaded more chapters because I was just that excited. And I did get feedback. I got a lot of negative and positive feedbacks. Some people really love the story. Some people don't, which is something you do have to expect as a writer. You're just going to write things that people don't like, but you're also going to write things that people that love. But a lot of feedback did help develop this story, because a lot of them said I could learn to slow down a bit. So I did. The very first book that I did come up with was a combination of what is now book 1 and 2. And the first book had like 33 chapters and over 300 pages. Goes to show how quickly I was moving through this book. But now that I'm very satisfied with how book 1's turned out and how book 2 is coming along. They became beasts of their own. For starters, book 1, it has 52 chapters, over 600 pages, which is now classified as a epic fantasy. So, yay! I'm very excited about that. For starters, the genre is epic fantasy with action adventure and just a hint of romance. Book 1 will not be focusing on romance. It's going to be more focusing on the main character. I wanted her to develop and become who she is. And when you read, you can understand why I did that. The second book, however, that's going to have romance. So if you're not interested in that genre, this probably won't be for you. But yeah, so that was really, really fun to do. World building, lore, I absolutely loved creating it. And I also created different monsters, because I wanted monsters to be part of the ecosystem and the world. So coming up with them was definitely fun to do. Well, for starters, about the book, it's about reincarnation, though I don't make that the primary focus in the book. Again, it's more into fantasy and action and adventure rather than all the other categories. But you are following along with the main character. The reincarnation is just the first chapter. I wanted to give a sense of who she was before we jumped into Velira Ashbane in the New World. But the first chapter was definitely fun to deal with, to tackle, because since I wanted elements powers to be part of this world and I wanted my main character to be unique, I obviously went with the 4 elements being the main things in the world, which was earth, air, fire, water, duh kind of moments. And with my unique character, I chose lightning for her. And with her being lightning, I wanted that to affect how she died. I wanted there to be a connection between the two. So, to come up with a way to die, I wanted to be unique in that scenario. I'm a big fan of anime, bit of a weeb. I like the isekai genre, but it's getting to the point where it's just overwhelming, and there is not a lot of creativity of how the characters get to that world. When I was coming up with scenarios of how we were going to get her into the world, I didn't want her just to take over somebody's body, because I just don't feel comfortable with that idea. And I just didn't want her also to be summoned, because, yeah, I just didn't want that happening. But so I thought reincarnation would be fun, and her tie death would be fun. But it's coming up with how she died was the challenge in itself. But how I came up with it was definitely lightning involved. At first, I totally threw out it was a pretty much junk, because I was thinking of having her wreck her car into a electrical pole, and a power line came down and struck the vehicle. But then that's not realistic, because you're actually safe in your vehicle if there's, a power line going everywhere. You're safe as long as you stay in your vehicle. So I needed to get her into a scenario where that wasn't safe. So I was, playing around trying to figure out what could be fun. So I went big and decided to go with an earthquake and a tsunami, and then the power line. That came to me in a dream, believe it or not. So I was like, that seems pretty cool. How many people have done that? And not often. I seen a TV show have done it, but it's more modern. I was like, well, that's cool. Oh, I can try that. I can work with that, but I'm not doing it in the same setting or the same way, obviously. But then I was trying to come up with a location and how we're going to get her there. So I was trying to think of an uncommon place where people usually don't think of earthquakes. Usually, for me, if someone tells me earthquakes, I'm going to think the West Coast, obviously. But I'm going to think of more of California, because it takes up most of that West Coast. But I was like, let's do Alaska. Alaska, it's a place I always wanted to visit, and I love the beautiful forest. So I went with that. And so I did a little more research on how Alaska handles, or not how Alaska handles, but what earthquakes have occurred in Alaska. And it turns out there's one that occurred in Seward, Alaska, back in 1964, I believe. Forgive me if I'm messing this up. It's been a while since I've seen this info. But I think it was in 1964 in March, and it was a 9.2 earthquake. And I think it was the largest in U.S. history and the second in the world on record. So I went with that, but I wanted to be where at least our character can survive, because when the 1964 earthquake hit, there was a tsunami that destroyed pretty much the coast. So I wanted to get her away from the coast. So I was looking for vacation spots where she can go camping or something like that, but still be affected by the flood of the tsunami without putting her life in instant death, I wanted to avoid. So I went with Bear Creek, Alaska. There is an actual camping site there. I try to describe it the best I could in my book of what it looks like without having to be there. I went based off of pictures and stuff like that. And, well, so our character has experienced the earthquake and then the flood from the tsunami. And during that time, I wanted her death to be also heroic. So I put a child in that was in danger. And she got the child to safety. But just before she can get herself out of the water, that's when the power line broke and snapped and hit the water, killing her instantly. That's why I wanted to go. I wanted to be very unique on that front. And so she was reborn as Velira Ashbane. Now, the second book takes place immediately with her being born. So you're experiencing what she is feeling of being born into the world she now is in. You're gonna hear it was very fun writing this chapter. And she gets introduced as Velira Ashbane. Now, following chapters, you're following along with her childhood. Probably about a good chunk of the story is you going along with as she's grown up. And I thought that was a good opportunity to do world building. But that's not all I wanted to do. I also wanted to add like a scary event and then a traumatic event. So you're not getting like overburdened with world building. And then it's going to get to a certain point where things are just going to be dropped. You're going to get explained, but it's not going to be like heavy. So, yeah, that was very fun to write. The lore itself is fun. Writing the ecosystem, how jobs work, doing research on the technological advancements that were in the, because the settings are like late 1700s, but with there being elemental guardians, guns were not created because why would you need a gun when you got someone who could shoot out a fireball? But, yeah, it was definitely fun and a learning experience. And I really want to get this book out there. I like to discuss. I really want to spoil people so much about this book and have a conversation with this. But it's just getting it out there for now. Hopefully this video will get you interested. Again, it's going to be free starting the 26th through the 30th for YouTube. It might be for today because I'm still waiting for verification to actually leave a link on the channel. However, I am going to leave a link into my bio so you can go there to look for it. Or you can just type in Stormborn on Amazon and you'll find it like real quick because it's on the top section. But yeah. I am SB Murdock. Sorry for the awkward video. I am very new to social media. I'm not used to this whatsoever. But I am going to try to be more upfront about it. Hopefully I get better at it like I did with writing, since it took me like 2 years to get this book out and not feel nervous about it. Which, anyways, I still feel nervous about. But yeah, you can find me I'm mostly on Facebook. I try to do on X, but I don't know how great X is about being seen. YouTube and TikTok, I probably average about 100 views, but I see, people stop watching about a second in. I'm like, I'll keep trying. Maybe eventually people will stop to watch the whole thing. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.